right, welcome. I'm excited to have author Heather Kaufman with me today. Heather, it's nice to meet you.
Well, it's nice
Thanks
to meet
for
you,
talking to me.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I've never met you before, so can you just tell me a little bit about Heather?
Sure, yes, my name's Heather Kaufman. I am a wife and a mama. I have 3 little kids who are 11, 8, and 5. Keeps my husband and I very busy, but it's a good kind of busy.
Yeah, how are you an author?
Yeah, in the margins of life, yeah. But yeah, I've always loved reading and writing. I always kind of knew from a young age that that's what I wanted to do. I kind of decided to be a novelist when I was 12. But yeah, I just have always grown up loving to read and write, and wrote a full-length novel in high school, and just have always pursued that passion. But it's just kind of a dream come true to be writing stories for people to enjoy. But yeah, I live in the Midwest. I kind of grew up all over. I grew up a military brat, moving all over, but have settled in the St. Louis, Missouri region. So we've been there now for a little over 15 years. So yeah.
Right. And you had worked in the publishing world before?
Yes, I had. Yeah, I worked as an associate editor with periodicals at Concordia Publishing House for around 8 years. Yeah, so that's kind of my foray into the publishing journey. So I've always loved working with authors, but then always had the desire to then be an author. So it's kind of fun to have experienced it kind of on both sides.
Yes. So what kind of books do you write?
Yeah, so I write New Testament era biblical fiction for Bethany House. So my series with them is called Women of the Way. And really the concept of this is to view the beauty of Jesus through the eyes of some of his lesser known female followers. I think when we think of the female followers of Christ, some big names come to mind. We might think of Mary Magdalene, even maybe Mary of Bethany. But what I do in these books is pick some of the lesser known women. So my first book features Martha of Bethany, the busy sister. And then my second book features Joanna, which she's a name that's really only mentioned twice in the New Testament by name. And then my third book, which releases this coming January, actually features Salome, she's the mother of the Sons of Thunder, James and John. So just those lesser known female followers. So it's been a joy and a challenge, but my hope in these is to just whet people's appetite for the word and to just spark that love of Jesus in them. So that's really the heart behind the series.
Yeah, and so what kind of tools do you use to research this other than the Bible?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's lots of great online commentaries. Enduring Word Commentary is a wonderful free online resource that I highly recommend. And then I look through, the research has been a little bit different. Like with the Martha book, there was a lot of daily life. What did daily life look like at the time of Jesus? And I just found several authors that have written extensively on it that were trusted voices in that. With the Joanna book, it was a little bit different because she comes from such a different class than Martha. So it was a lot of what did the political atmosphere look like at the time. So a lot of research on Herod Antipas and aristocratic life and things like that. With the third book, it was very tightly close to the Bible, and so there's a lot more research on the biblical events and understanding the chronology and things like that. So each book has presented its own unique research challenges, but there's so much scholarship out there, and it's just been a joy to discover it. And as I'm researching, I'm also building my faith. So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful process. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like on your website, it says crafting stories that imaginatively enter the lives of biblical characters and compel readers deeper into the Bible.
Yes.
So that's great. What do you hope that the readers will take away from a Heather Kaufman book?
Yeah, I just hope that they feel the radical, relentless love of Jesus. That is my heartbeat behind these books. Having grown up in the Christian faith, and growing up military and moving around, we actually were in and out of a lot of different churches. And so I've had a lot of different experiences in the church, some great, some not so great. Just a lot of legalism, I think that played into that too, that informed my view of God growing up. And just somewhere in my early adult years, I just the love of Jesus for me just kind of saturated me. And it's just when we can really get a handle on how much we're loved by him, that is more motivating than anything else that motivates the Christian life. And so I just hope that maybe especially for people who've grown up in the church, it can be very easy. Familiarity, I think, can kind of dim our awe a little bit, and it's names that we've heard over and over, and they become a little two-dimensional. But these were real flesh and blood people that actually knew and loved Jesus during his earthly ministry, and I just hope that people just get a renewed excitement over these people. And again, I'm entering it imaginatively and giving them maybe a little bit of a backstory. So there's a lot of fiction here, but I hope that also it just sparks a curiosity, that people would just approach the word with a new kind of curiosity and hunger for it, and that they would just feel that deep sense of belovedness from Jesus. So
yeah, you know, I do find that you do kind of forget that these aren't just stories; they were people.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know? So what a great thing to kind of deep dive into that.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of answered my question that somewhat, but of why do you choose Jesus? Why do you continue to follow Jesus?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's such a blessing to have grown up in the church. It's such a blessing. I think there is that moment where you have to make your faith your own. It's not just, oh, this is what I've always been taught, or this is the faith of my parents, or the tradition I've been brought up in. There's that moment where you have to really be like, is this something that I'm taking ownership of here? Is this something that I genuinely believe and feel? And I just feel very fortunate that from a young age I had that deep sense of certainty over it. And certainly God grows us in our faith. We start out with that kind of childlike, innocent trust, but I don't think we're ever supposed to lose that, honestly. But I just think the closer I've looked at the Bible, just the truer Jesus becomes. You start to see him throughout Scripture as the single thread holding it together, just the way all of the books, all of it works together so beautifully. It's just masterful, and you see him as this cord tethering everything together. And I think just the more I've looked at it, the truer he becomes and the more beautiful he becomes. And that's just not true for a lot of other things, right? When you look under the hood of other things, you know, sometimes it's like it gets a little gnarly, but I just think, like, look under the hood. It's okay. Like, question it, look at it, examine it, and it's just the closer you look, the truer it is, the truer he becomes. So I just, my love for him has only deepened, over the years.
And I find it interesting that you kind of said you were maybe a little, I don't know if jaded is the right word, but with the church and the legalism, and that does turn a lot of people off, and then they're just out.
Yes.
So, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of my testimony is just the fact that he's kept me, right? He's kept me in his hand, right? All of these years, and that he's the heart of Christianity, but then also realizing that he wildly loves his bride. And so we can't just say, give me Jesus and that's all I need. It's like, also the church is beautiful. And so there's a lot of ugliness, but he died for the church. It's his bride. And so it's just getting back to the heart of Jesus, but then also understanding that he loves his bride. And so there's a lot of ugliness, but there's a lot of beauty too. And just, it's just, that is a big part of my testimony, is that throughout all the years, it's like he's kept me in his palm and only increased my love for him. So, yeah.
So if people want to learn more about you and the books, where can they find you?
Yeah, I am online on my website, hmkstories.com. I have a landing page for each of my books there that has a lot of extra content. I have a YouVersion devotional plan for each of my books, book club guide, some extra bonus content on there for each of my books. So I highly recommend folks checking me out there. They can also subscribe to my Substack newsletter on my website, and I send that out every month, and it's just got writing updates about me, some things I'm learning, things I'm loving. I usually do a giveaway every month, so that's a really great way to stay in touch. So hmkstories.com.
Okay. And a quick, I always like hearing how authors kind of develop your characters? You already have a character.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
So we know that person, but how do you then, in a situation like that where this is a real person, how do you fictionally come up with that character?
That's a really good question. I begin obviously with what we know from Scripture. So for example, in Martha's case, just asking questions of like, how did they come by these characteristics? So like, okay, if she's anxious and troubled, right, about many things, why is she anxious and troubled? And so just imaginatively thinking, what has informed her past that she now maybe uses her busyness as a little bit of a shield. She doesn't want to maybe feel things that she, is and so a lot of us, I think, can default to busyness because when we're externally busy, we can kind of quiet the internal. And so just kind of backtracking from that. And then like with Joanna, she had to be awfully brave. She's a woman who is probably high up in Herod Antipas's court, who then financially supported Jesus's ministry. What did that look like? Did her husband know? Did Herod ever know? Kind of straddling these vastly different worlds. How did she come by that bravery? What compelled her to seek truth? And so I start with like the characteristics that maybe we can know from Scripture, and then kind of backtrack and imaginatively think like, how did they come by these characteristics? So it's been really fun to think about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's nice to meet you, and I just hope you all will go to Heather's website and check it out and learn more about those books. And so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
Good.